Hey everybody, it's finally Teach It Tuesday and we are back with another tutorial for you. This one's from Lowland Kids and it's called the Sweater Romper. And if you're in the small shop world or you're in the pattern world, this is the in pattern right now. It is super cute, super simple to sew, and I'm going to show you how to do it. Try to show you how to do it fully on the serger. You will have to omit the snaps. I'm not going to omit the snaps just because I like this pattern with the snaps, but if you are going to do this on the serger, I tried it last night on the serger doing a blind to hem for the snap placket, and the way I do this, it's too bulky and I broke a needle and I actually ended up having to get a brand new machine, which you can see back there. Mine has to get some new parts, so I do not recommend doing the blind hem on the snap placket for that. So I would just omit the snaps, and the way you do that would be this little part on the bottom of the pattern piece here, the little triangular part. Cut it straight across and then sew them together like a normal crotch. Add your leg bands like a cuff, and that's how you would get away with doing this entire thing on the serger. Alright, so to do it on the serger, you will need to do a lined hood. This hood in the instructions actually comes with hemming the front, which is the facing of this pattern. So instead of doing that, we're going to line it so that you don't have to do that. You don't have to have a serger or a cover stitch to do that, although those things would come in handy if you didn't want to do that. But this is a way you can get away with doing the serger. For the hood, also, you could do a blind hem on the hood facing. I still find that I like to top stitch that down with a sewing machine, so it's kind of pointless to do that when you can just hem it on your sewing machine. That's just my opinion. These sleeves, you need the sleeve piece here. What I like to do is modify this because I like to use French terry fabric, which doesn't have that much stretch, and this pattern calls for a really stretchy fabric, or gathering the sleeve to fit the cuff. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and modify my cuff piece here. I like to grab, no, this is my cuff, this is my sleeve. I like to grab my sleeve piece here, and I like to fold it on the stretch, which is opposite of the grain line. So I'll fold it this way in half, and I put it here. I make a mark here, and then I put a ruler from here to that mark, and then that piece will be cut off there. As you can see, that's what I did to this. I literally just made a straight line from the point, the curved point. This is the folded edge. So the curved point here to the mark where my cuff fits. And then that's the straight line I do. And I cut my sleeves like that because then I don't have to gather the sleeve. It's an extra step that you can take off. If you want to do the gathered sleeves, more power to you. They're cute. They're just an extra step, and I sew to sell. So anything that I can do to make the garment a little bit more simpler construction-wise, I try to do. That's a really easy way to do that when you're using French terry fabric. So then the next modification that I make is the leg bands. Since I'm using French terry, they take a ton of stretch to stretch these leg bands on. So if you don't want to use ribbing or rib knit fabric, or you don't have anything stretchier, I like to just go ahead and lengthen my leg bands. I keep calling them neck bands. These are legs, they're not necks. I like to go ahead and lengthen that. And so I use the actual neck band piece, which you don't need if you're doing the hooded version. So remember that. You'll have to print this piece out and remember that you need it solely for a guide to cut your leg bands. So I like to go ahead and use the neck band piece, and I do that because here's the leg band piece, and it's that much shorter. So the neck band piece is about 1 inch longer. And then I go ahead and add about 2.5 to 3 inches to this even when I cut the leg bands. So this is what they look like. I already cut mine out. Give me just a second. All right, so this is the fold right here on the bottom. And so when you put the pattern piece on it, I added about 3 inches to the top up here. As you can see where I'm holding up here, I added about 3 inches to the top, and I cut 2 of those, and those are my leg bands. So I used that neck band as a guide to cut my leg bands, and then I'm actually going to use the leg band piece to cut elastic, and I'm just going to use 1/4 inch elastic. I got this from Knit Pop a while back, but all I'm going to do literally is pull my elastic out. I'm going to grab my little snippers over here. All right, and so I'm going to pull it, and you have to cut these on a fold here, or this measurement, this piece is cut on a fold, so you'll have to cut 2 like so. So that's 1 elastic, and you can just measure it by folding it in half and then putting it up against this pattern piece here, making sure that it is equal. And so then what I like to do to cut another one exactly like that is match them up here, pull them down taut, and then cut another one. And I have my 2 elastic leg band pieces. Those are the only modifications I really make. And then you'll need your elastic piece, which is included in the cut chart. I'm doing the 3T size, and this is 18¼ inch, quarter-inch elastic. So, all right, let's see the fabric pieces cut out here. For doing snaps, I literally just got these in. I had made so many of these rompers and used all my snaps that I had to order more snaps. And so these are cam snaps. I like to use the open ring snaps, size 16. They're compliant, which is wonderful. And then I use their hand press. So here is their handheld press. It goes like this. You squish down, and you don't have to put that much pressure. That's what I love about this. I've tried other machines, other contraptions, snap presses. This by far is the best, and it's really not that expensive. It's definitely worth the money for sure, and these snaps are as well. I have a leg band, 2 of those, and I have 2 cuff pieces. I've already cut them or folded them. So that's what your cuff pieces would look like cut out. Then you have a sleeve, 2 sleeves. I then cut 2 hoods. Here, let me move them down. 2 hoods. So you need 1 hood, which is 2 pieces, and you'll need another hood, which is 2 pieces. So 4 total pieces. You'll do mirrored images, or opposites as the pattern piece calls, for each one. And so since we're lining the hood so that we don't have to use a sewing machine to hem it, I decided to do a alternate fabric for the lining. I think that'd be kind of cool to see. And so I did the mauve French terry here with the leopard French terry here. So you have to cut out 2 of those, 2 hoods, 1 back piece, which is cut on a fold. This is the fold. And then 1 front piece, also cut on a fold. So what you're going to need to do first is open this up. That's the back piece because the neck rise is higher. And here's the front piece. And we're just going to match up these shoulder seams here. And then we're going to sew those shoulder seams. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this and move it out of the way so you know what you need to do with that. I'm going to go ahead and prepare my sleeves for after this next step. And that means, and remember, we did cut the sleeves with that hack that I showed you. So like when I fold this cuff piece here, the end of my sleeve here fits perfectly, which the cuff will be more like this. But still, if it's perfectly, there's not going to be much stretching at all needed for me to put this cuff on this armhole, which is great. What I'm going to do is go ahead and snip. Here's the curved sleeve part. I'm going to go ahead and snip right here, because that's going to be my middle point that I match up with the middle part of the shoulder seam when I add my sleeves in just a moment. I just like to go ahead and prepare everything. My sleeves are out of the way for the next step. I'm going to go ahead and get my cuffs prepared too. So of course, when you do the pattern, the stretch is going this way, so you fold across the stretch, which is your hamburger fold. This is called the ham hop method. Hamburger fold. And then I do the hot dog fold like this. Hot dog fold like this. We got those prepared, and we're going to serge that all the raw edges on that one side. So here's the folded edge, and here's the raw edges. We're going to do that. Leg bands we're going to do differently. Like, since we are going to do snaps on this tutorial for the rest of the tutorial, I am going to show you how I like to do it. I like to go ahead and fold this wrong side together so that the right side's on both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and serge it, because I find that if I don't serge it already, the leg band together, when you pull, it tends to curl and stay curled. French terry is notorious for that, and I found this little trick to help with that, because once it's serged, when you pull it, it doesn't curl at all. So that's a really good tip, and the same one with this one. So we'll do that, move these over here, and then we're going to do our hood. And so what I'm going to do, of course, this is 2 pieces, 2 different fabrics, 4 pieces technically total. 2 pieces here, 2 pieces here. You're going to do the entire curved edge of each one of these. And we'll come back to figure out how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real fast, and I'll be right back to show you what that looks like. Okay, so here's what everything looks like. So I did the hoods. I did this hood in leopard print, and then I did this hood in the mauve here. And of course, I just did the curved edge here, so that's out of the way. My leg bands, like I said, I did them wrong sides together and made this tube. You'll have 2 of those. out of the way. My cuffs, I've already flipped out and I made a little point on the opposite side of the seam. So here's the seam. And I made a little point on this side of the cuff. That will be my point of reference when I'm trying to stretch the cuff, match it up to make sure that it's even on both sides to the armhole of the sleeve, shoulder seams of the front and back bodice. And so what you're going to do is open this up like this, where the neckband or the neck hole is in the middle. You're going to grab your sleeves, and remember we did that point of reference snip on both sides up here. What you're going to do is open it up, put them right sides together, grab a pin, more than one, or clips or whatever you use, and that pin or that mark that we made on that part, I'm going to match it up to the shoulder seam here. Remember, right sides together, and again you'll do the exact same thing on the other side. Be right here, and you'll match that one point up, put a pin in the middle. You can use as many pins as you need. I just like to use one, and then you'll pull it over to the armhole here. You do all the way across, and then pull this side over here and sew your sleeve on. I'll be right back to show you what that looks like. This is what that looks like. Here's how we added the sleeves like this. I serged here and here. Go ahead and grab our shoulder seams again like this. Lay it flat out. You'll fold your sleeves to match up like this. This side the same way. And then make sure your armpits are matching up, that seam under the armpit, and then you are going to serge your sleeve all the way down to the side of the romper on both sides. This is what this looks like when you're done. You'll have your sleeves and your romper hemmed all the way down. And we're gonna leave that crotch open because we're gonna do the snaps and we're gonna do the leg bands and the side seam there. So what I need now is to make a snip on my sleeve here and a snip across from my seam here, and that's how I'm going to add those are called cuffs, Bailey. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my pins. Hopefully I have enough in here. All right, and again, if you see me using one pin and you're like, I can't do that, use as many pins as you need to use. Just remember to remove them before they go through the serger. So what I like to do is go ahead and match up my cuff seam to the underarm seam here, and I'm going to put it inside the armhole like this with the raw edges facing out. I'm going to make sure that all my raw edges are matching up, which there's 2 raw edges from the cuff, 1 raw edge from the armhole. And then as you can see, my 2 points that I snipped on the cuff and the 1 point that I snipped on the armhole match up, and I barely have to stretch at all. I'm just going to use one pin there. Do the same thing on the other side. So I've got those prepared, so when we go over to the serger, the cuffs will just need to be sewn on in the round. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and get this hood ready as well. So then all we'll have to do is the leg bands, elastic through the legs, and then snaps and cinch the waist. This is the outer part of the hood, the part that's going to show. So you're going to put the lining, right sides together. Don't open the hood all the way with the lining. So you want the right side showing on the lining and you want the wrong side showing on the hood. You're going to put the lining inside of the hood like this. And you're going to match up the middle point here, which is that seam. And again, I like to nest my seams, so I make sure one's going one way and one's going the other. I'm going to go ahead and put that there. Remember, if you put a pin in, make sure to remove it. And then you're just going to match that front facing up, the part that you would typically hem, but we're not going to hem because we're lining our hood. You're going to match that up and serge that entire front part here together. So just this part, my hand's holding here, all the way to here, all the way to here is what you're going to sew. And you'll serge it together, and then you'll have a lined hood that you can just add on just like the instructions say. I'm going to go ahead and put the arm cuffs into the serge those on, and I'm going to go ahead and serge the front of this, my lining and my hood together, and I'm going to go ahead and bring my leg bands and my leg elastic, that's my waist elastic, and my leg elastic over here to the serger, and I'm going to bring you guys with me this time so you can see. So here's my new machine. It's literally just like the step up from the Brother 1034D. This is the 1034DX. And I personally, I just got it today. And there's a few things I like about it. There's a few things I like about the 1034D by itself. But for the most part, it works. I've noticed it's a little bit quieter, which is cool. But let's go ahead and serge these cuffs on. And so what I'm going to do is open this up, grab my 2 points on my cuff that I snipped, grab that 1 point on the armhole that I snipped, and put them underneath my knife here. Get it started. Once I see that that thread's gone through, I like to go ahead and then move my fabric. Of course, you're going to remove your pins as you go. Serge over where you started. Make sure, careful not to cut your stitches. If you are prone to cutting your stitches, turn your knife off as you do that. But if you can maneuver it, that's fine. Tuck your tail in there and that cuff is on. Let's go over to the other cuff real fast. Same exact thing. So our cuffs are on, and then what we're going to do is go ahead and do the hood like I said. So we're going to go, we've got these right sides together, and we're doing that whole front facing here. Making sure the raw edges are matching that. And then don't forget that one pin we put in the middle. Before you get it to the blade, make sure you remove it. Make sure those seams are still kind of nested. Alright, we're almost done with the hood. Alright, snip your tails here. And then what you're going to do, so here's the hood. You're going to flip it right side out, like this, and put the lining, which is this mauve fabric, inside the leopard, like this. Try to get it to match up as best as possible. And for me, even lining the hood, what I would do, if you have a sewing machine, you can go ahead and top stitch this seam down on the side, and that will make it look neater. It's totally optional. You don't have to do that, but I would if you have a sewing machine, but if you do not, you don't have to do that. All right, and so there is the hood that we didn't have to hem because we lined it. And so you're just going to make sure that you grab these end points here and here. Grab it here and here. And so there's your hood. That's the hood here. Alright, and so what I like to do is go ahead and just match up the back part here. And I'm not going to nest these ones. I think I might, just because it might be bulky on the neck band. The neck of the neck. Imagine that. I think it might just be a little easier to not be bulky on that. Alright, so we'll go ahead and add the hood before we add the leg bands. So what you're going to do to add the hood, you're going to grab, hopefully I didn't just drop anything important. Alright, so you're going to grab the romper piece here and you're going to fold it with the shoulder seams together like this. And so here's the neck, and you got the middle back and the middle front. I like to just go ahead and make a snip. One snip there, one snip there. So now I know the exact middle front and middle back. And so what you're going to do here is, I like to go ahead and fold the garment right side out, because I like to put my tag here, and I found that if the garment is right side out, you'll put the hood on the outside. So I've got that middle point that we matched up on the hood, and I definitely want the leopard print to be the part that shows in the mauve to be the inside. So I'm going to put leopard print to leopard print here to make sure that that's the one that's going to flip out and be the one showing. And I'm just going to pin it right here. And I do this because it's easier for me to add the tag to the back neck here. And then what you're going to do is, all right, so here is the hood, and you're going to bring it around like this and like this. So it's going to go around the neck. And so you have made that one little snip in the front, which is this little snip here. And what you're going to do is grab this side of your hood here, and you're going to want to overlap. So it really doesn't matter which one you overlap first. You're just going to want to make sure they overlap. And you're going to grab this part of the hood here. And again, I like to go ahead and just make sure that that seam is as tight as I want it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pin these together here, overlapped. And so here is the hood now around the neck band. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with my presser foot, get my needle. My needle's ready. Okay. Bring you back over here so you can see what I'm going to do. Let me go ahead and prepare my tag. Alright, so I found that these little clips help to keep your tag folded if you do a sew-in tag. That's super cool. I like that. So I know my pin is where I need my tag to be. I'm going to move my tag over for now. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and start about right here on the neck. So I'm just making sure those two pieces from my hood and the one piece from my neck hole are lined up. And I'm just going to get started. And then once I get that underneath the needle and thread, then I'll maneuver it so that it doesn't yank out from underneath the actual machine. All the while I'm just making sure all these raw edges are matching up. Okay, I'm almost to the back point that I pinned. Once I get there, I will remove my pin, grab my handy dandy tag over here, and that's the wrong pin. Oops, that's not the back, that was the front. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this back through here. And I want to make sure that I overlap it. We go, Bailey. Okay. It's been one of those days, y'all. If you're in our group, then you'll know that it's been one of those days. And I love you guys. You guys were so encouraging today. And really helped to have some positivity. Alright, so I'm going to load my foot here. Got those overlapped. Alright, now they're overlapped and looking better. Alright. Just keep going around to this back point is going to be back here. Still making sure I'm on edges. Alright, so then when we actually get to the back point, then you'll remove your pin, grab your handy dandy tag, put it right over that seam, which you'll feel with your fingers, and you'll see with the serger tail that's sticking out. Put it in there, hold on to it with your fingers, serge it right in. Super simple. Super simple. And so I'm going to go cut my tail and tuck it. Tuck your tail in. Let's see what that front overlap piece looks like since I almost messed it up. Alright, so you'll flip your hood out. And so now I'm just going to top stitch this down. If you have a sewing machine, you can do that. I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm at my sewing machine. I have some green thread in, and I really don't even care to change it. So that's just what I'm going to use. Use a straight stitch. I'm going to go ahead and make mine to 3. And then I'm just going to pull this right here. This is that hooded part. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and top stitch that seam down. So the point is to make it straight. So I'm going to start about right there. I like to go ahead and start with the turn wheel, back stitch a little bit. And then back stitch again. And then that's what that looks like when it's top stitched down. It just kind of makes that area look a little bit better. Hopefully you guys can see that. Alright, and of course that step is only if you have a sewing machine or a cover stitch. Alright, so leg bands are next. Alright, leg bands. The garment is still right side out, and you have your leg bands here, leg band here. Alright, so what you're going to do is go down here to the legs, and what I've done is here is the crotch. Here, I'm going to pull the crotches and then work on the seam here. So here's a crotch, and here's a crotch, and this is the middle of the side of the romper. So what I'm going to do is find the middle of my leg band here. It's going to be about right there. And I'm going to go ahead and put that point right here. So it's right sides together, of course. It doesn't really matter which side of the band, as long as the serged edge is against the raw edge of this band. So I'm just going to put one pin in the middle, and I will show you what I do now. So as you can see, that's what the band looks like. I'm putting it up against the raw edge of the leg opening, and so this is what it looks like, and you're going to do the same thing with the other side. Alright, so I just use one pin, and what I like to do is pin the middle and then pull this edge to the crotch here, and you're going to want to line it up to the crotch. And it may take a minute. Let's see. Nope, this machine worked perfectly. I just needed a new blade on my other one when I tried to do this on my old machine. Okay. Alright, so what you're going to do is just walk that leg band, match up your seams here. Not your seams, you're going to match up your leg opening with the band. If you find your band may be too long, if you added too much length to the band, you can snip it before you start. You can just double check it. But the goal is to cut the serged edge off, because you don't want to see that when you flip this romper out. So make sure you're serging it just enough, which is a little bit over 1/4 inch, to cut that off. Get to your pin, pull it out. And then now that we're in the middle, we can go ahead and pull here. And then just match up everything here. Snip your tail, and then no serged edge when you flip your band up. Looks good, looks good. Okay, so then you're going to cut your tails, and then what I like to do is go ahead and match this up. So you can cut it to match up nicely with the crotch area here, and then go back to the other side just to make sure that it's lining up, and it lined up pretty good. So let's go ahead and do the other one really fast. Do the exact same thing. And then again, just clean up the crotch part here. Clean up the tails and the crotch part here. And again, my personal preference, I would go ahead and top stitch this down. This seam right here, I would top stitch it down so that it looks better. But if you don't have a sewing machine, clearly you're not going to do that. Or if you don't have a cover stitch, you're not going to do that. But that's just my preference. Here I would top stitch. Okay, so now what we're going to do, since we have this leg band sewn on, we're going to use that as casing for our elastic. So you're going to need a safety pin and your 2 pieces of elastic. All right, so if you get to this point and you're like, what is she talking about? Don't forget, we cut the elastic the same size as the actual leg band measurement, because remember, we lengthened our leg bands using the neck band as a guide, and then we did this elastic measurement based on the actual leg band pattern piece. So this was the leg band pattern piece here. And so don't forget that that's how we got our elastic measurement. It is not in the pattern. It is not included in the pattern. This is simply a hack for fabrics like French terry that clearly you were not going to be able to stretch this leg cuff on had you have done it this size. So that's just what I like to do. And this is going to cinch the legs back up. So find whichever side you want to start with. Put the safety pin that you have attached to your elastic here. Put it into the leg band and push and pull, or pull. I guess it's push and pull. That's correct. Push and pull. All right. So keep on doing that. Just pay attention to the end here, because you can get going and forget that the elastic is smaller or shorter than the actual opening, and you can pull it through. Sometimes if you have a nitpicker, you can kind of save it. But I like to go ahead and butt it up against the side here, make it flush. Grab a pin. I like to put my pin about an inch and a half away from the edge here. Make sure that it goes through your elastic. To test that, pull your elastic here. Well, where'd it go? I pulled mine too tight. Pull your elastic here, and then if it doesn't move, then you know your pin's through it, and that means you can forget about this edge and keep on push-pulling until you get to the other edge of your leg band. And again, I just use 1/4 inch elastic just because it's easier. But this leg band, actually, you can put probably up to 1/2 inch, maybe even a 3/4 inch elastic in it if you wanted to. If you don't like the thinner elastic in the legs, you can absolutely do a thicker elastic. I just have a whole bunch of 1/4 inch on hand, so that's just what I'm using. But the leg band is absolutely big enough for something thicker. Alright, so I like to go ahead and hold it here to keep that part flat, because it's easier to do the snap placket when that piece is flat. So here's the edge. On the other side, I'm going to go ahead. Alright, that's my daughter who's supposed to be taking a nap, but that's what you do. And then again, if you want to double check to make sure, pull it. If it doesn't go through or doesn't pull all the way through, you know your pin's through it. So you're going to do the exact same thing with the other side. Grab your safety pin, grab your elastic. We'll zoom through this one so that you guys get the idea. Okay, so now we have our elastic in there. So the elastic's in there, and what we're going to do now is go ahead and serge to finish off our elastic and the edge of the cuff. So you're literally just going to serge like this. And so I just serged that edge of the crotch. And so I'm going to cut my tails a little bit long, and just because I found it looks nicer, I'm going to go ahead and tuck them. And this, I haven't mentioned it yet, but if you've watched other videos, this is called a nit picker, and you can get it from waywalk.com for like a few cents. Not a few cents, it's almost $1, but still. I prefer to grab a couple because they are really easy to break. I've hot glued this one back in. That's what that ball of glue is right there. So, but it's really cool because it has this little hook on it. You open this little latch and push it through the seam, pop it out right where you need to pull your fabric through, and just pull it through. And so it's pretty cool like that. And so then that's finished. That one's finished, and we're going to top stitch it down on the sewing machine. Again, like I said, if you wanted to not do this at all, and you didn't, all you have is a serger, you would have cut that little triangular part off and then just sewn this together, the crotch together. At this point, you'd sew them to get right sides together. All right, again. Again, cut your tails long. Grab your nitpicker, tuck your tail. Some people use crochet hooks or a large needle too. That works. I just find this super easy and super cheap. It's what I got the hang of. Whatever you find the hang of doing, I have found that I used to do knotting. I used to knot the fabric, and I have found that that does not stand up in washing and drying over time. So that's why I switched to something more secure like this. Okay, but that's what it looks like. And so we're going to go over to the sewing machine and basically flip that down like that, and then just do a straight stitch. So let's go to the sewing machine. Leave it on the same settings that I use when I top stitch that part down. And then, so I got it like this. Go ahead and remove my pin. And I'm going to top stitch it down about 1/2 inch like this. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start. I use my hand wheel to start. And then back stitch a little bit. Pull this pin out. And then again, I like to go ahead and make sure that this area is flat. Don't pull too much. And go ahead and just top stitch it down. Back stitch. And then that is what your snap placket looks like. It is legit the simplest snap placket ever. Super simple. And you'll do the exact same thing with the other side. You don't have to do any like binding, flipping, folding, facings. You don't have to do any of that with this pattern, which I love. It's already built in to just flip and top stitch. Super simple. And what I tried to do here on my serger that I broke in the process, which I do not recommend with a thick fabric like this, is a blind hem on this. And since I do the elastic on the side, it did not work and broke my needle. So don't do that. But if you're using a thinner fabric, you can absolutely do a blind hem on your placket here if you don't have a sewing machine. But I recommend not doing that just because I broke my machine. And thankfully, you know, we were able to run to the store and grab another one real fast, but not everybody has that luxury. So that's what that snap looks like, snap placket looks like, and you just add your snaps. So let's go ahead and cinch this waist. All right, so I just do a sewing machine and zigzag stitch over the overlap. You can use a serger to do that, but I find the sewing machine to be simple. That's just what I do. You can use a sewing machine to do it though. All right, and so I'm gonna go ahead and quarter up this piece here. Quarter it up, just making 4 equal marks, matching them up. This will be easier to stretch onto the waistband here. Alright, and so what I would typically do, because I have a sewing machine, is I would attach this elastic with the sewing machine. And I'll show you what that looks like. I'm not going to actually do it, but I'll show you what that would look like. Go ahead and snip all my little points here from my snap placket. Alright, so that's all done. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this whole garment inside out again. Pull the hood out. Grab the shoulder seams. Alright, so this is the back of the garment. And I don't really mark up my cinch line until I am done with everything else, because I have done it both ways, and I found that if I mark before I get started, before I've sewn up the pieces, it doesn't work that well. So what I'm going to do is grab my pieces here. It's the same for the front and the back, so just grab one piece. And then match up your, I like to do the armpit is where I match up. And so I just put that there. And so that I know my line is going to go here. The highlighter will show up. Let's see. So that's the orange mark. Flip it over on this side and do the exact same thing. Match up my armpit here. And I know that from there to there is where that cinch line is going to go. I'm going to grab a ruler to make that line longer. Alright, and it's really easy to go ahead and match it up on the same line so that I can match up the ruler. Lord Jesus, match up my ruler like this. And this. And then I know I'm going to make a dotted line. Or just make a whole line. You can use a water soluble marker. Soluble marker if you want to. I'm just going to use a highlighter. This one's for my daughter, so that's what I'm using. My water soluble marker is leaking, so that's, you see the line there? I drew the line. Alright, so I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. It should match up. That's the goal. Make sure your shoulder seams together. Alright, let's see here. See how well it matches up. Alright, I'm not even going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the mark on the other side, which is there. And I'm going to transfer it to this side, which is there. And I'm going to match up those points. That's going to be the easiest way to get the most even mark here. And then no matter how you're cinching the waist, you need to draw this line with something. If you have, like I said, tailor's chalk, if that'll work for the fabric you're using, a marker, water soluble marker, meaning when you wash it, you can use a magic marker, whatever. Just make sure it doesn't bleed to the other side. So this isn't going to bleed to the other side. So that is my mark. So what you would do now, if you're using a sewing machine, what I like to do is go ahead and, first of all, find the middle points to the front and the back. So you're going to make your line there. So then I know that this is the middle back. I'll go ahead and just make a vertical line there. And then we're going to do the same thing with the opposite. Make sure it's all flattened out. Flip it over, match up your seams. And then on that line, make the vertical mark so that you know you have two with the front and the back, and then you have your side seams. So then, of course, if you were sewing, what you do, like I said, you'd put it over there like that, put it on there, and then stretch each point to point. I use a lengthened straight stitch. I lengthen it all the way, which mine goes up to 4.8 length. And that's what I do. And then I just pull until I get back to the point, snip them, and I'm good to go. You back stitch a little bit too. But to do it on the serger, what you're going to do is a little bit more different. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fold the actual bottom into the garment like this. So I'm basically folding it back on itself to get to the point here, right here, and to get, so what you do there is you're going to fold it on the line that you created. So this is the romper. There's the romper. I have folded the bottom part into the romper here. So then what I'm going to do is go ahead, fold it on the line, grab my elastic, and put it like this. I'm going to put it pretty much as close as I can get. I'd say leave about a 1/4 inch off. And just pin it. And go around and do the same exact thing all the way around it. So, I'll go over here to the side seam, to my point that I marked on the elastic. Again, I'm leaving about a 1/4 inch off to the edge here that I'm going to cut off with my serger. Alright, again, find your vertical line and make sure that you're folding it on the line. And match up this point. This is not the easiest way to do this, but it is a way that you can get it done on the serger completely. I find that the sewing machine is the easiest way to add the elastic. but this will get the job done as well. I know a lot of people only have a serger, so I definitely wanted to show you guys a way to complete this cinched waist fully on the serger. So now, as you see, when you pull the elastic, you have about a 1/4 inch left on the top. We'll have a better idea when we get over to the sewing machine. So let's go over to the serger and finish this up. All right, so we're over here at the serger. It's going to be important that you take this one step at a time and remember to have this folded on the line. All right, so pretty much what you're going to do is put it underneath the knife. You need to lift that up to get it underneath there. Do that. All right, so once the needle and thread goes through the elastic, you can let go of it and go ahead and move on to your next point here. All right. So the goal is to clip off that little seam allowance, that little extra we put up top, and barely touch the elastic with the knife. You're not going to want to cut the elastic. That's not the goal. All right, so pull it. Let it go through. To your next pin, pull it out, and then just keep on moving around here. Pull it, and then just make sure that if you need to fold this to be a little bit more on that line that we made, do that. You want the line to be that fold. All right. Point. Remember to make sure that your points are still matching up, that line is still good. Really sorry, I don't know why my camera keeps cutting off on me, but literally all I did was keep going around the circle, cutting it off, and then I went over where I started and then tucked my tail. So the goal is to make sure that the elastic lays flat on that fold. That line that we created is the fold, and let's go see what this looks like flipped out. Super quick, let's flip this out and see what it looks like. My phone's running out of memory here. All right, so this is what it looks like flipped out, serged waist. That's what it looks like. Serged perfectly. The only thing is the elastic might be a little bit more not as comfortable this way, so that's why I like to do it with the sewing machine, because it lays it flat. But this way works. It cinches the waist. If all you have is serger, you can absolutely do this. Let's get these snaps done. Snap placket here. Find your middle. So here's the front here. Find the middle. I mark it at the top here. And of course I don't have any pin that's going to mark this correctly. In here, and then when you get these snaps, they come in 3 parts. You'll need 6 of the little prong pieces. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you'll need 3 of the male pieces and 3 of the female pieces here. Boom, boom. And as long as you have the right tools, this is the easiest part in my opinion. This is the most simple part. So of course, find the middle. And then I like to put my male pieces on the top, the front part. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the male piece, is the part with the prong that sticks out. I put that into the top with the prong piece facing up. And this piece with the prongs facing up. Find that middle piece. Put it in between, sandwich it down, and put it in there. That's what it looks like when it's on. And I'm going to do the bottom part here real fast. Same thing, but the part you're going to put here is going to be on this part. So find your middle, female part here. That's going to be the part that you want the prongs to go into. So you're going to face that part down. or yeah, facing down, prongs facing up. Go ahead and sandwich your fabric in, push it down, easy peasy. You'll do 6 of those, and then you'll snap them together just like that. If you need to measure your snap placket, do that, but that's what your snaps look like. I only have enough time to do one. All right, so I went ahead and put the snaps on super fast because my memory is about to go out, and I definitely wanted you guys to see the entire tutorial. Snap all your snaps. Snap placket is done. Elastic is done. This is the finished product of this romper. Super cute. Love it. Again, the hood here is lined. It's very cute. Cuffs, super cute. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. We'll see you guys next Teach It Tuesday. Make sure you subscribe. Leave any comments you have below, questions, concerns. See you guys next Tuesday. Bye.